Welcome. This event tonight is being hosted by Red Sparks Union and the Critical Criminology Working Group. We would like to begin by acknowledging that this event is gathered tonight on unceded Coast Salish territory, the traditional territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. These territories have never been ceded to the Canadian state through military defeat or treaty. We know that the land we are on has come to be known as Canada and British Columbia through a process of dispossession, displacement, occupation, and genocide of Indigenous peoples. We know that the liberation of all people on these territories is intimately linked to the liberation struggles of the Indigenous peoples of this land. So we are honored tonight to have Carol Martin here with us to start us off.
Thank you all. I was talking to some of my elders there, and we were talking a little bit about International Women's Day. It never had a significant meaning to us as Indigenous women when we were going through some of the, thinking about some of the stuff and the struggles we've gone through, not just what we see where we're working, but as individuals. Because, you know, the residential school, as you know, did a lot of damages to our people. And I know just from my personal story and my personal travel through to where I am now has taken a long time. Do you know that when you talk about International Women's Day, I know the movement started in 1908, but that has no significant meaning to me as an Indigenous woman, because my struggle was within myself, trying to find out who I was. And even that is a journey itself. And I don't know if I can accurately paint a picture of individual struggles to get to where we are now. You know, there's many of us who have a lot of journeys, a lot of stories, a lot of, we have a lot to talk about, you know, the hurts and the pains. I know for me, I was brought up on a small reserve. My colonial name, the white name that was given to me, is Carol Martin. I did go back east to Ontario, and the name that was given to me was Spirit Tree Woman. I don't know my language. I have no connection to my family. And to this day, I reside in Vancouver here, although I was brought up on a small reserve tucked deep in the valley. And those were a lot of where I learned about my grandmother, my grandfather. My grandfather who refused to speak English. We lived off the land. You know, there was a lot of all that natural gathering and hunting, and everyone had a role to play. There was gardens, there was fresh water, we had outhouses, we didn't have the electricity we had here. But behind the closed doors, there was a lot of stuff that we never talked about, that we never brought forward, that things we heard, things we experienced that, you know, we had no understanding about. And then I was taken away because we were given back to my mother. And everything that was done to her in residential school, she did to me and my sister. And we didn't understand. You know, there was a lot of starvation, a lot of beatings, a lot of, she would just do things that just didn't seem right. And at that time, you know, when we used to go to school, we'd go to school with big black eyes, matted hair, blood in our hair, big lips, and no one would say anything. Like, you thought it was normal, you know, going to school in Prince Rupert. Then we got put in a group home because we started ending up in school with too many bruises. But the reason I'm telling you this is because we end up losing who we are. Because people you become so brainwashed and so conditioned, just living in survival mode. You disassociate for many years. I used to wonder how is it I passed grade 10 when I don't remember being in the classrooms? How is it I remember how is it I was able to accomplish a lot of things in life when I don't remember it? So when we were talking about International Women's Day, it's been a long time. 1908 is a long time. But it doesn't hold any significant meaning. The only but it's a good way to educate people and and seeing where we are as Indigenous people, because we have our own struggles within ourselves. Because when you think about what the residential school did to us, you ever think about a person who's ripped from their body, and you're taught not to like the color of your skin or your family, or there's this self-hatred, self-sabotaging, and everything that's said about us. So I grew up looking out of white eyes. I became who I thought you wanted me to be. I dressed the way I was supposed to. I cooked and cleaned the way I was supposed to. I was very obedient, please and thank you. And then when I came down to Vancouver, right on Main and Hastings, I felt shame. I didn't want to look at the people. I avoided that area. And then I realized that was part of my past. And then that is actually where I found myself. And when I started looking out in Native eyes, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for the longest time. Because everything that was thrown at me, everything that people made me feel about who I was as a Native woman. So it took a lot. That is my journey. For me, that's quite an accomplishment, because regardless of everything that happened, I think I find that now that I'm waking up to who I am, I don't know if I want to stay where I am, because I see the ongoing oppression, the ongoing problems that are put on our people. I remember reading, in our communities, our women were acknowledged, respected, and honored, the sacred givers of life. The government recognized that because we held families together, we held our communities together. And that's when our journey started, where they started disrespecting the women. They started labeling the women. They took away our children. Our women started going missing and murdered. They keep us busy in poverty so that they think we don't have time to do stuff like this. So we don't come forward and talk about our stories. Well, I'm past the same. I'm past the hurt and I'm past the pain. I remember being so angry before about a lot of things that I seen happening down here. But I turned that around. And now instead of being angry, I'm going to get up and I'm going to tell you my stories. I'm going to tell you what is going on. We've done a lot of work in the downtown Eastside. And I'm really happy to have some of the women who were there with our struggles. When our women were dying and going missing, we actually took over the Women's Center and turned it into a shelter at night. So now we have a shelter for the women downtown now. There's a lot of them that couldn't get into shelters before. So I have Veronica Butler. If you stand up, Ronnie. Rita Blind. These are some of the women who take to the streets and do whatever they can to make changes for the women downtown. And have Faye Blaney. because of years of seeing our women dying and going missing and being thrown from windows and dying down there, we actually tried to take over the police station. And now we have a program called Sister Laws. So you know, that is what you call International Women's Day. You know, when you get up and you can accomplish a lot like that. So I share just a little bit about who I am, but there's a lot of things we've done. And you know what? The women's movement is truly something that can accomplish a lot. And it just shows you the women are going to make the circle strong. It's the women who are going to stand up and make those changes. And damn, if you knock me down, I'm going to come up stronger than ever, because that is already what has happened to me and all the women who I work with. The incredible strength, the resilience of women, and women all around the world, those are my people. The Indigenous people, you know, who are struggling. And the government is really smart. He's using different levels of war against our people. But you know what? If we can all stand together and make those changes, I know there is hope for change. And you know what? It's going to take women all across the world to stand up and say, you know what? Enough is enough. It's time for change.